ahead and start the meeting. It's 4 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. And if everyone will please stand for the prayer and the pledge. Would anyone like to say the prayer? You will. Hi. Okay, I'll say the prayer. Lord, thank you for this wonderful country, for this beautiful city we live in. I pray, God, that you give us guidance in making decisions that are best for the city. In this line of work and what we've been elected to do for our citizens and for this community, we always need guidance, and we always need to know that we're doing what's best for everyone involved. I pray that you give us such guidance. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I don't believe we had anyone sign up for public comments, so we will move on to action item, which is a charter change. And does anyone on the council have anything they'd like to say about charter change? And I can introduce briefly what we're discussing.
No, but probably the questions that I had that we have went over might be helpful for the public to know just some of the outstanding questions, just because it's not what we've been used to.
So what we've been looking at, and this has been discussed over the past 7, 8 or 8 years, or even possibly more, is changing our form of government so that we have a city manager. At the rate we're going, I know the public's always concerned about making sure that we have someone here full-time to answer questions, that we're looking at future growth with the city, that we're that there's someone here accessible who does have executive power. The county, of course, they have someone full-time, which will be Jamie Inslee taking Stan Helton's place, and he is there full-time. He's a full-time commissioner. And we've looked at possibly even having a full-time mayor or having a city manager form of government. And many municipalities follow that rule of city manager forms of government. The council still has control over everything, including the budget, hiring and firing of the city manager. Hiring and firing, we can enact that so that our ordinances state that we still have control over who we hire for employees in the city. Anything that we do currently. The only difference is there's someone who is accountable, who is not an elected official, who's accountable to make sure that everything is getting done on a daily basis. They oversee every department, they have executive power, and they report directly to us as a council, which would include the mayor. It basically puts the mayor position as a figurehead. I mean, they still, they're still involved in community action. They're in community outreach. They're involved in signing of contracts and running meetings. They do everything except they just aren't in charge of day-to-day.
Appoint committees.
Yeah, appoint committees. They do those things as well, but they just simply do not have day-to-day managerial skills. And when a city's growing as quickly as ours, I personally feel, and so did the Gerard and Davis investigation, if you guys, we've all discussed that, they emphatically, they requested us to do that years ago. And that is one reason why the city council actually has taken over. We've kind of gone back over our departments because we know there's a need for leadership. And all of us have full-time jobs. Or we're retired. So, but we all work a full-time job. And, we do this, and it would be, for most of us, it would be impossible to come in here for 40 hours a week, so.
Well, and the council positions are set up now to set policies. Our job is really to set policies and the mayor's to enact it. But the problem is as an elected official, we try to hold people accountable to do what they're supposed to do, but there's nothing really we can do if they don't. They're elected official. The city manager, then if they don't do their job, then they can be held accountable for what they did or didn't do, that action can be taken. So right now, sometimes we feel like we're fighting a lost cause if nothing's going to follow through on why are we doing it. you know.
Well, also, if you look, 10 years ago, our budget was about a $4 million budget. Currently over $9 million right now. And with our projected growth, I think in 5 years we'll be at 15 million. If you look at Dawsonville, Jasper, Cummings, these are some of the cities that have already made this change. And like I said, we feel like we need to start moving in a different direction. Not that the direction we've been in has been a bad direction, but it's just time with the continued growth and the change that we need to move that.
I think there needs to be some accountability to the public and to the people, and this is really the only way we're ever going to get there.
Yes, Harold, do you have any questions or thoughts?
Good.
Thinking about it. But it's just something that I've been with the city council, this is my 11th year, and I remember my last debate, when I ran the last time, that was one of the questions, and it was prior to that, and these were presented to us by the chamber. And I said then it's needed, and I say now it's needed. We're just growing too quickly not to have it, and I think, the question is, can we afford it? And my answer is always, can we afford not to have a city manager? Because, things are happening. This person needs to be looking at budgets. They need to be making sure taxes are collected. They need to be looking at possible solutions for grants, and
We've already
there's
saved the
so
city
many.
manager money with taxes and all this.
Yes.
We've already saved their money 3 times over, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
So, any other thoughts?
I think this form of government takes the power out of people who want to be in a position for power. The mayor doesn't have power then. You're the mayor, you're there to do what's right for the city. It puts the workload on somebody who's getting paid to do it. They don't feel like they're doing it for essentially for free, and they pick and choose what they want to do. To me, it's the only accountable way. Now that I've been in government and been on city council, I don't think there's any other way to go.
Well, I think it takes the politics out of it.
Yes. it
Well,
does.
and, speaking of that, if we were to have a full-time mayor, they're elected. And to get rid of that full-time mayor, you basically have to wait 4 years.
Yeah.
Truly, that's the great way it
Yeah.
would work. A manager is an employee, so we're going to be looking like a company. We have a board of directors, and we have a president or someone running that day-to-day operation. If they don't do the job, then we can make a decision to go a different direction. But, sometimes you could have a full-time mayor's position, and, you don't know what you're getting. And with different, and I'm just saying this out loud, but with different developments and different things coming in, you could have one development pretty much decide on the next people in office. So you don't ever know what you're gonna get there, so. But I've done a lot of research on this, for the last 8 months, I've heard them talk about it, and,
I guess our biggest question, if we do follow through on this resolution, what we have to do is send it to Speaker of the House, and we send it to Gooch also. And they present it as a charter change, and it has to go through the General Assembly. So we have a resolution in place, and our one option if we do this is we can let it become effective immediately after they vote, and we can start transitioning into it, or we wait until we have an election next fall, and we wait until 2000.
and we can adjust and use
Yeah.
portions of it over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
See, because there is some flexibility within,
Yes.
but our charter was originally done in 1989. And, I was just looking at a charter today that's it's a sample charter done by the state. That was in 2014, which is still 6 years old. So there's a lot of updating to the charter, and I've been going through the charter, and we need to address the charter and make
It's
adjustments.
just outdated.
Yeah,
It's just,
89.
Well, I guess if you guys are ready to make a motion on it, whoever makes the motion then
you
needs
want
to.
to read the resolution though?
Yeah, I can read the resolution, and you guys can do that. And then just be thinking about when you make the motion, how you want to start effective immediately or,
So can we talk about that before you go
Yes.
into it? So Is that something we need to vote on and put it in the motion, or is that something we can decide on what pieces as
I
we?
think it has to be presented to the
Because we
general
probably should
assembly.
discuss pros and cons of that, because like if we need to decide what pieces there is to go in it, then we would probably need to do that, wouldn't we?
I think
Yeah,
reading the charter, going through the different scenarios and all the different things that in my opinion, I think need to be addressed. I think it needs to be effective January 1st of 2022, but we still have the ability this year to start
transition.
Implementing
start
that, getting ready
implementing
for it.
transition into
Yeah.
it, because there may be some things that we really don't like.
Yeah.
And it gives us the ability to hire from within or hire from outside. So
I agree with that. My only question would be, what if we have a roadblock, like we do many places, that we don't get cooperation from somebody to be able to transition, and we haven't voted on the resolution, then we're still in dead water for a year?
I
to
think
be able to
if
conduct
the
business?
resolution passes at the House, that
Well, you do have to start enacting your ordinances at that time. Like how much power you want to give the city manager, you know, because in some cities, they do allow for the city manager to hire and fire, and I've already told James Valley, we want to retain that ability if we do this. We want to retain
Well,
everything.
essentially, the council's got no authority, no power. They're keeping all the same. It's still the 5
Yes,
council members
yes.
and majority vote.
Yep.
It's just, yeah.
It would be the same unless we, you know, but we do enact all that through ordinance once we get it. So let me read the resolution, and we'll go from there. So this is a resolution pursuant to the city charter and general law requesting a local act to amend the city charter. A resolution by the city council for the city of Blue Ridge, Georgia, to request that the General Assembly adopt a local act amending the city charter to provide for a city manager form of government and for other purposes. Whereas the General Assembly possesses the constitutional and statutory authority to enact changes to local acts which establish or amend charters for municipal corporations, and whereas after consideration of the proposed changes to the city charter, the city council determines it to be in the best interest of the citizens, future citizens, and visitors of the city of Blue Ridge, Georgia, if this resolution has been passed. Now therefore be it resolved, and it is hereby resolved by the city of Blue Ridge, Georgia, as follows. Requested change to the city charter. The City Council of the City of Blue Ridge, as the governing authority of the city, does hereby formally request that the Honorable David E. Ralston, Speaker of the House of Representatives and State Representative of House District 7, and the Honorable Steve Gooch, Majority Whip and Senator for Senate District 51, author/sponsor in the General Assembly, Georgia General Assembly, enact a local act which changes the charter to provide for a city manager form of government, with the city manager acting as the chief executive officer and answering only to the city council, including but not limited to a change to the following sections. Sections 3.14B, procedures. Sections 3.21, chief executive officer. Section 3.22, powers and duties of mayor. Section 3.23, submission of ordinances to the mayor. Section 4.10, department heads. Section 6.24, operating budget. Section 6.25, adoption. Section 6.28, capital improvements, and any other such changes as may be needed. Nothing in this resolution shall be construed as requesting a local act that violates Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotating non-prohibiting the General Assembly from utilizing different wording that carries out the intent of this resolution. The city attorney is hereby instructed to transmit a certified copy of this resolution to Speaker Ralston, Senator Gooch, and the General Assembly for consideration and to coordinate any information required by the by the Office of Legislative Counsel. So ordained, so it's ordained. Do you have any questions? Do we have a motion?
So I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution for City of Blue Ridge pursuant to the city charter and general law requesting a local act to amend the city charter to a city manager form of government, resolution number BR 2020, whatever number it's assigned.
And to begin process of transition in.
Yeah, to begin process of transition over the next, we're going to say from January 1, 2021 to 2022, but as of January 2022 is when the new charter would be in place.
All right, bye-bye.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And I'll do a roll call vote. Let's see who is first. Mike?
Yes.
And I am acting as both mayor pro tem and as council, and I do vote yes. And Nathan?
Yes.
And Robbie is absent. Harold?
Yes.
Yes. So moving on to purchasing approvals, playground park purchase. Mike?
So what do you want me to talk about?
So you want me to briefly?
Why don't you?
Let me introduce. So we have been looking at the park again. I mentioned this at the last council meeting. The street department went in and we did a lot of upgrades on the drainage system.
Which was a major issue. One of our
Yeah.
concerns is the hidden cost.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the big problems when we voted the last time. We were afraid that because of the drainage, it would cause water to basically void that warranty. And I think that was
That's
one
been
of the
resolved
issues.
now.
And it's been resolved. We've monitored it for probably 2 weeks. We put in extensive drainage system. Jeff Stewart and Tony designed that, and it seems to be working very effectively. In the meantime, we've also worked, I know Mike has been working a lot with Alicia and coming up with, to look at funding, to make sure that we can afford this. And as he had mentioned before, I'm gonna let him talk about all this, but I do believe we have ample funding to do this at this point. And that way, with the drainage issue being resolved and the funding that has been in place for this, I feel like personally it was worth looking at again, and I think Mike and everybody wanted to re-examine before we moved a step further. We were actually ready to put I think Joe was ready to get the mulch on last week, and we kind of said, okay, hold off, let's look at this, and, do something that may be more.
It wasn't as big of a deal, the drainage laws, as we thought it was going to be too, so.
Yeah, it was kind of nasty, but.
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, we had never had any intent to put the turf on it without having drained.
Yeah.
Because it had to be done, but it had to be supervised. And, to be honest with you, I talked to the gentleman today that gave us a quote that came up from Atlanta. They're in New York. He's going to be here next week to look at what we did to make sure it does meet the specifications that he needs, because it is a 15-year warranty that they're going to be laying down.
Is that the city turf, is that this guy?
Yeah, city turf. He also did the ridge, if anybody wants to go out there and look at that, and it's an incredible job out there. But anyway, he's going to come look at it, and if he approves the way it is, then we'll put the next layer of gravel on. Then they will come up a week or so after that, and they'll be here for a week. They'll come in, pack it, put everything together, put the foam, put the rubber down, and then put the turf down on top of it.
What will the time frame be? Just so people ask, like, when will it be redone, ready?
Well, of course, I think we're in a little bit different winter this year than we've had the last 2 or 3, but he's thinking, and don't hold me to it if we don't have any problems, he's thinking 3 weeks that he'll be done, to be up
Well,
and,
that's good.
Starting window,
well, he'll be here next week to look at it. And
until
then
March 1st, we could say.
I would say by March 1st, we should have it up and running, but it's going to be done correctly, it's going to be done right. The budget that we originally talked about, I think that we can stay within that, but if not, we'll address it as we get there. But that's leaving the slide where it's at, having the right type of padding and everything around it.
So our insurance is fine now with the padding we're going to have for that high slide.
Yes, it meets all the specifications for the state.
Well, and I don't know if you guys know, but we've had an anonymous donor, which we're not going to tell who, but they've given money for shades. And so I think when we looked at this as well, because once you put the shades on, it's better to have your permanent padding on. So how much are we giving, 15,000?
We were given about 19.
19,000, yeah.
And we're going to
yeah.
probably have to add about 5 to that.
Okay.
Because prices have went up since
Yeah.
they were giving some money, it's been 2 years.
And that was another factor we're looking at as well, because of this. We want to make sure that you know, that we don't mess that up once we go back into
We
this.
almost lost the donation
Yeah,
because nobody
yeah.
followed through on it, and they had to call in Vegas first to take their money to help do something.
Okay,
for the
so we
public.
have it now then.
Yeah, we
So-
have, I told him, I assured him we would use it.
Right.
So what else?
But I certainly think that's a factor in just getting it done.
We'll help them with
without-
funds too, yeah.
Yeah, yes, certainly, so.
Yeah, it'll be both playgrounds, like I said, they'll be done correctly. We shouldn't have a drainage issue. They have a warranty on it, and insurance-wise, safety-wise, it'll meet all specs, so we should be good.
Do you have any questions, Harold?
The money, our intent, the money will come from the hotel motel tax.
Oh, good.
I'm actually glad to see it come from that. I'm glad to see something from that go back to the public space.
I agree. Totally agree on that. Awesome. That's where we have the original restrooms at that park, they're free now.
Well, if you remember, we earmarked all that money for the restaurant, we never did anything with, and that's where it was coming
Yeah,
from.
so. Okay, so do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the, city turf, playground. So there's several different, or just that's all from that. Estimate number 1449, $60,743.75.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We'll do a roll call vote. Mike?
Yes.
And again, I'm acting as Mayor Pro Tem and councilperson, and I vote yes. Nathan?
Yes.
Robbie is absent. Harold? And, okay, so guess we're getting a new playground. So is there a need for executive session?
I don't think so.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned if,
I'll make a
Make a
motion.
motion.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
okay? I've got
All
to
in
hear this.
favor?
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.